Jai Sri Krishna. And today we are doing lesson 2 of the Srimad Bhagavad. I hope you have watched the video of the lesson 1. But in that, it was written that great spiritual personalities state that it is only when the virtues of previous lives commence to fructify does one get the opportunity to hear the great katha of the Srimad Bhagavad. And it is also believed that if you read it, you get mukti. And as I said that in the first short video. So today we are going to learn about some of the stories in simple form. And I think this has got a great symbolic meaning. Let me explain to you. It's about bhakti and sons, okay? And I want to tell you that my mother would just not tire of hearing katha, discourses after katha on the Srimad Bhagavad. And she organized a Srimad Bhagavad Saptah, 1 week discourse for herself in Vrindavan. And generally, we Sindhis believe that we should do it 1 year after our death. I mean, the children do it in the memory of the parents. But here she said, why do I have to wait for you to do it for me? Why don't I do it myself? So she did it in Vrindavan and heard the whole Srimad Bhagavad. So here is some of the stories that I put together. And this particular book I wrote in her memory. Pages from the Bhagavad, from which I'm reading for you. So once, let me tell you this one. Once sage Narad felt dejected, observing the sorry state of affairs in the world. He could not find truth, penance, or compassion in it. So wherever he would go, he would say, this world is in a sorry. Can you imagine? It's been in a sorry state since those days. He observed that man says something, feels something else, and yet behaves in a different manner. When Brahmaputra Naradji arrived in Vrindavan, he saw a young woman who had 2 very feeble sons who seemed afflicted by a terrible illness. So he saw an old woman with 2 very feeble sons. The young lady told Naradji that she was Bhakti. So she said she was Bhakti, and her 2 sons that looked so old were Vairagya, that is the spirit of renunciation, and Gyan, wisdom. Now, it is not difficult to find the symbolic message here. In Kali Yuga, where unrighteousness is the order of the day, the sons of devotion, who are renunciation and wisdom, are not in the pink of health. So in today's world, in Kali Yuga, you can see that poor Bhakti's sons are not in great pink of health. Naraji tried to cure the ill sons by trying to wake them up from their stupor. Naraji whispered some truths into the ears of Vairagya and Gyan. They would wake up for a while to fade out again. What happened to Gyan and Vairagya is an everyday occurrence in today's world. It's like, you will hear a little satsang, you will wake up a little bit, and then you'll go back to sleep, People awaken to the truths of life while listening to spiritual discourses, but get into a spiritual coma the minute they breathe in the glitzy world of desires and attachments. A classic example, which we Sindhis call it Masani Gyan, is when one is faced with the death of a close and dear one. At that time, one feels how futile it is to pursue our ambitions at any cost. Whether we walk over people because the person died, and everything, all he takes is his bad karmas. But that Gyan comes only at the time when you see the death of a close one, and just to go get back into a stupor again. So that kind of Vairagya and Gyan says goodbye just as fast as the departed soul. The minute you leave the cremation ground, you're back to the world. When Gyan and Vairagya did not recuperate from their illness, Naradji asked for help from various saints and sages. Naradji was informed that Gyan and Vairagya would revive and recover the minute they would hear the Srimad Bhagavad. As I told you, Gyan is knowledge, the real knowledge, and Vairagya is the act of renunciation. Knowledge about Gyan and Vairagya recover the minute they will hear the Srimad Bhagavad. Knowledge about Gyan and Vairagya is there in the Vedas, but the language of the Vedas is deep and requires study. Hence, it is believed that if one reads the Srimad Bhagavat and as a result love emerges for Krishna, then renunciation and wisdom is granted as free gifts. So he says, you listen to the Bhagavat, and if you start loving Krishna, and then everything will be added on to you as a gift, that is Gyan and Vairagya. When one listens to the Srimad Bhagavat, Krishna enters through the ears into the heart. So if you are reading this, I can safely assume that you will pick up the great scripture. At least I hope you'll continue listening to me as a Srimad Bhagavat for beginners. But even if you don't, you, my reader or my watcher who has been with me so far, is a candidate for mukti according to the promise given by the Lord that he who even reads a few words is liberated from sorrow. But what you need to do is just believe and have faith. So until the next lesson, you stay safe and God bless.